of course, the big thing if your kids join the Mets club, Mets Kids Club, you'll keep them away from A-Rod. Oh, that's terrible. Good morning, it's 10:06 at WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast, WPSL TV worldwide. And it is time for Money Info, brought to you by Princeton Research. Mike King is in Singapore, will not be with us today, but Charles Moskowitz is, along with Casey Quintana, right across the way in Tampa Bay. Of course, Charles is in lovely Boston, Massachusetts, the home of the Boston Red Sox newspaper. Right, Charles?
And how do you like Jeff Bezos buying the Washington Post right after that?
Oh, you mean the Amazon Post?
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't know they had any newspapers in the Amazon, did you? Huh?
Yeah, right.
Whoa.
Well, he bought it personally. It's not part of the company.
I just assumed. I just assumed he bought it through.
It's an Amazon company. It's a Jeff Bezos company.
It's a.
In his words, it was a pet project.
That's that's right. Well,
quarter of a billion dollar pet project.
Oh well, that's fine. I mean, that's.
I mean, at least John Henry only paid $70 million for the Globe.
Yeah, there's got to be some. Well, what I thought was very interesting, guys, is and of course we'll talk a little bit about it sometime this show, is the pension crisis, which CNBC is calling a public pension pandemic that is about ready to hit, which is kind of interesting. Charles, you need to close your ears on this one, because this is this story is earmarked straight for Mr. Casey over in Tampa Bay. Being a young married guy, this is and a 1%er. We've got 24 karat gold lingerie, which I'm sure Casey can chase after. It's $6,000 per nightgown, and it's 24 karat gold, guy. Go for it, Casey. This is right up your alley, pal.
That's with the matching, what was it, $2 million Victoria's Secret bra, diamond and
yeah, that's
bra.
it. Yeah. That's the whole. That's pocket change for you.
Yeah.
I mean, what the heck? Well, I've got to ask you the biggest sports story. You're in that nutrition game, and obviously the A-Rod thing isn't nutrition, but steroids. But your reaction to all of that. And supposedly, by the way, ESPN is reporting there's as many as 500 boxes full of evidence in think that baseball has yet to release.
I think it's a huge double standard that Charlie Sheen goes on Good Morning America talking about his cocaine abuse, and he gets a new sitcom, and Rodriguez takes performance-enhancing drugs, and he's just thrown under the bus and then backed over it again. I don't think what he did is right by any stretch of the imagination, but I think we should have a level playing field for all those in the public eye.
Whoa!
Yeah, but the difference, I think, is that Charlie Sheen didn't get a better contract because he was a better athlete, and I think that Rodriguez absolutely did. I mean, if I were a guy with roughly the same degree of talent without any steroids, I'd be pretty pissed about the fact that this guy made maybe $200 million more than I'm going to make in my lifetime because he used something that was banned from his sport.
It's funny you say that, Charles.
That's completely valid.
Yeah, well, and I don't know, Casey, did you get that over in Tampa Bay? A retired pitcher by the name of Dan Meyer in West Palm, who tweeted to this one pitcher, I can't think of his name now, but he's on the Philadelphia Phillies, who got caught. Anyway, he aced him out of a job and basically retired Meyer. and it was when he was on the juice, and so. Needless to say, Meyer had a very interesting tweet last night for this guy. It's what goes around comes around type thing. So they finally got him, but wow, it's unreal. I love the sport, but boy, there's just something.
It's surprising to me that it's as rampant in baseball is such a start-stop sport. I don't think that. I mean, I can easily argue that it doesn't have the physicality of football or even basketball. It surprises me that baseball is so rampant with performance, with drugs that make you stronger than some of the other more physically contact sports.
Yeah. Well, that's and it seems like they get a lot more publicity, to say the least. And Charles, your guest is here. We have an elephant in the room.
Stephen Gerson. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Okay, so I just want to make a brief introduction here and go for a 17B. We are not paid by Elephant Talk, and I do own some shares bought in the open market. But I think this is a very, very exciting and timely story, and this company has just made a couple of announcements, and there are more coming. So why don't you take it away, Steve, and give us an overview.
Great. Good morning. How are you?
Okay.
We're doing fine.
Elephant Talk Communications is a company that is very exciting right now. We have had some deals in the last several weeks that have progressed the company forward. Basically, what Elephant Talk does is we empower mobile network operators, or we call them MNOs, and mobile virtual operators, we call them MVNOs, by providing them a solution for their IT back office infrastructure. In today's world, most of these MNOs, and the examples of that would be a Vodafone, an AT&T, a Verizon, and all the big mobile operators around the world, where there are over 800 of them, have many, many applications, or we call silos, running the back office of a mobile operation. It's approximately 40 or so applications. Many of these systems we call legacy systems have been around from day one, going back to landline businesses, which they all started with, and have approximately 20 to 25 different vendors trying to all manage these back office applications so they can communicate and work with each other. The cost of doing this has skyrocketed, and the margins for these mobile operators have really suffered in the last 10 years. Elephant Talk has developed a platform that allows the mobile operators or virtual operators, and I'll explain about that in a moment.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, the mobile operators to outsource that very expensive back office infrastructure to an integrated solution where all the platforms, applications were built to integrate with each other and allow you to manage the so-called big data in the cloud in real time for the mobile operators' customers or third-party customers, which are virtual operators.
So what would I be using, Steve, that would fall into that category?
Any single business you can think of in the world. So the great example would be 20 years ago, nobody would have ever imagined the internet. That every business ultimately would have to have the ability to communicate, to market, to sell their products or services or solutions on the internet. I mean, many big businesses went out of business because they were too slow to move to. What's happening now is that big companies, small companies, or any size companies that want to use a mobile network, everybody carries a phone. It can be profiled to them. It can be marketed to them as an individual. They want to be able to offer services using a mobile network. It's the next generation of how communications, selling, couponing, loyalty programs, marketing, communications by the government to a constituency. Basically, go open the yellow pages and it doesn't matter. So that's a virtual operator, a sales and or marketing company that wants to have access to a mobile network, but of course has to go through a mobile network to do it. And the big mobile network operators don't have the flexibility because of the old applications and legacy systems in their back office to allow real-time access to the data in the cloud so these sales and marketing companies can move quickly and efficiently to make changes. Obviously, if I want to make a change to a program, to a coupon, to a sales, to a promotion, to a loyalty program, I want to do it now. I don't want to go ask the mobile operator and have them go through a 6-month testing period to see how it affected these 40 back office applications. So Elephant Talk has allowed these mobile operators to save, key number here, up to 80% of their costs in the back offices and make it extremely efficient and fluid for their customers and their virtual operator customers to have access to the data in real time.
Well, Steve, this almost sounds like you mentioned about the virtual stuff, like what Google does on websites, or even to a certain extent, like my wife ordered parking for a Marlins game, for instance, on her phone. Well, she's now getting daily updates from MLB.com. Yeah, so
that's correct. Now, if she wants that, she'll get it. She'll get promotions. She'll get specials.
Yeah.
Just like you would get it on the internet. But now you can get it personalized for you. The other piece of the puzzle, and what I call kind of the sex and the sizzle of the company, is the security portion, the cybersecurity portion called ValidSoft. We acquired this company several years ago. They sit on top of a mobile operation, of a telco platform. So the synergies are fabulous together. And what ultimately ValidSoft does for Elephant Talk is that it secures that big data in the cloud. So we right now believe we have the only solution in the world that allows you to have access to the data in the cloud in real time under a mobile operation and secure it as well. The other pieces of the technology that ValidSoft has, it's very exciting and patented, is that we really are going after the very, very large, costly problem of fraud using credit cards, debit cards, and online transactions. In the United States alone, it's approximately $200 billion a year of fraud and the administration to deal with that fraud. What we have developed and gotten patents for is the ability to be able to see when you swipe your card, is your cell phone in proximity to where that card is. We call it proximity correlation analysis. And in 0.04 of a millisecond, we can let the banks or the processors such as Visa or MasterCard know whether that transaction is likely to be genuine or not. And we're not tracking anyone. We're basically knowing that you're not in a location. An example would be you're in New York, and your phone, in order to work, cell phone, is always pinging some tower. And that's how all these mobile operators work together to connect the call or to connect the SMS or whatever you're trying to do by mobile operation. But let's say your card is being used in Europe. We would know in 0.04 of a millisecond that that card is being used in Europe and that your cell phone is hitting a tower in New York City.
Whoa.
That's a highly unlikely quality transaction, and we can tell them that instantly. And the reason this new technology is so important as a consumer and for the mobile operators, the processors like Visa or the banks, is that when the bank denies a transaction, which we've all gone through, or the credit card, how many times has it been a legitimate transaction where you need to turn around the car, dial the 800 number, and now you're speaking to the fraud department when it's not a fraud. Hence the administrative expense that adds on to the actual other type of fraud expense. And here's the critical number, which blew me away. It's all documented. Banks would prefer to deny a transaction and take the risk when their engines only manage historical data says this is not a likely transaction, so they don't have to pay for accepting a fraud. So 90%, this is the key number here, 90% of transactions that banks and processors deny are legitimate transactions.
Wow.
And that's why there's such a huge administrative expense to deal with fraud as well. Our solution turns this upside down. Instead of 90% false positives, we bring it down to under 5%.
Wow.
Yeah, this is exactly why I was interested in the company a year ago.
I can see why, Charles. This is the ValidSoft is far more than, say, a virus program. I mean,
no, we don't touch virus programs at all. We are truly the state-of-the-art authentication, verification type of company. You know, in the marketplace today, there are tens and tens, probably hundreds of competitors that do standard authentication and verification, and all the big security companies do it. It's called two-factor authentication. So they check either by using a PIN number or a password or saying your mother's maiden name to prove out that you are who you are, so to speak.
Right.
Well, that's been broken by the fraudsters at least 8 years ago. But it was considered the best there was, so the fraud was kind of built into the cost of doing business. ValidSoft has developed, we went from two-factor to three-factor to four-factor, and we've just come out with a patented fifth factor that allows the banks as well as the processors for each transaction in real time, depending on what type of transaction it is and the profile for that individual that the processor has, whether they want to use 2, 3, 4, or 5 factors. And the key new factor that we have a patent for and are winning awards for is voice biometrics. So we can tell that that's you. You can go like this, and we can still tell it's you. We can even tell if you're under stress, but we know it's you. Voice is one of the only biometrics in the world that is almost impossible to manipulate. So we are able to tell not only is that you, are you authorized to make that transaction, is that transaction a transaction that you are allowed to do, and can we verify that that's you on the other end of a phone? Now we can, and the tests prove out 99.9% correct.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, the technology is really starting to move. The excitement is really strong. People love the ValidSoft story. It's very compelling. The elephant talk story, I sort of talk about it as blocking and tackling. You know, it's very important because it's going to lower the costs for mobile operators and their clients dramatically to get access to data that they want in real time to support their customers. It's a very critical transition because the problem that mobile operators have, security is a key one, but the problem they have with their back office is that they all started in the landline business.
Right.
Almost all of them, if you think about it, except for the last few. Okay, and the landline business is a zero margin, just about, high cost business. They all moved into mobile. Mobile used to be great margins. Well, the problem with that now is the competition is intense. So you get free weekends, free nights, now you got free mobile to mobile. It doesn't matter if you're AT&T to Verizon, it's free mobile to mobile, and you have a free roaming. I mean, what's left? You call your grandmother. I mean, there's really nothing left for them to make money on. So the next piece is what is called customized mobile services. And these are the services the mobile operators want to get involved with because it's very high margin, such as banking, insurance, couponing, communications, selling, anything that a third party, like an MVNO, want to communicate, but through a cell phone or a cell network, as well as like what they do on the internet. So if you just take that concept of how everyone ended up on the internet or died, well, the margins now and the competition is forcing everyone's hand to go to a smartphone. And the goal is to make that smartphone the tool that combines everything.
Steve, that's interesting.
Banking, credit card, cashless, to swipe your phone. I mean, when you're going down the highway and you have some Easy Pass or Sun Pass, whatever it's called, there's no reason that chip can't be in your phone and have one device. The key to all this, and it's always going to be the key, is security, and hence why ValidSoft is such a very important part of the solution of Elephant Talk Communications.
It's interesting.
We're a publicly traded company on an Amex, and ETAK is the symbol.
Awesome. It's interesting you talk about that because, it's like when you think about local banks, for instance, and I was talking to a banker who was saying that, you see the Chase commercials where you just shoot a check on your cell phone and it just transmits to the bank. I mean, that's where I would imagine the ValidSoft really comes into play in situations like that.
Definitely an application that I personally, I'm in the business for years, I'm not shooting a check on my phone and sending it. Fraudsters have it too easy. They're very smart, they're very ahead of the curve. They have now figured out how to attack your SIM card. So ValidSoft has developed one of the only in the world SIM card technology that doesn't allow the fraudsters to sort of swap the SIM card in the air to somebody else. So right now, our biggest, one of the biggest banks in the world, Santander, has standardized in the UK on our SIM swap technology, and it was the first one. It is expanded now. We've announced they've done over 9 million transactions using our technology. And we sort of wanted to get our foot in the ground, really make it work perfectly, and we're having a tremendous experience with this very large bank, global bank, with this new fraud vector that Santander came to us through our partner. We have a very big partner called FICO, and said, we have this problem, and we developed a solution, have a patent pending for it.
FICO is in FICO?
Yes, FICO is in FICO.
Wow.
FICO is our partner. If you go to their website in strategic partners, it's every billion-dollar company you can think of, and then Elephant Talk Communications.
That's wonderful.
It's kind of very funny when you see, and we're first. See, FICO has one of the 70%, let's go there, of transactions, banking transactions, are using the FICO engine, risk engine, in banks to make a decision whether that transaction should go. And what the FICO engine does, and does extremely well, is it basically works on history, your history. It's what happened in the past. And, well, not everything you do is what makes sense of what happens in the past. FICO saw a tremendous opportunity because they acquired a company called Adeptra, and we were in Europe, and we were already a partner with Adeptra, incorporating our technology into integrating into the Adeptra system. When Adeptra was acquired, now FICO has asked us, a little more complicated, but no problem, to implement into their very large risk engine. So not only now can they look at the history in real time, we can do lots of security and analysis and authentication, even going as far as voice biometrics in real time, and really come up with a solution for the banks and the credit card processors that will change the industry. So FICO is our channel, and it's a very important channel. We don't want to build out thousands of salespeople to try to get into every bank in the world. FICO is in 70% of the key banks of the world.
Sure.
And handle 70% of the transactions that I meant. And they're in 5,000 of the largest banks in the world. So it's a very important partner for us. And our relationship is very strong. And our technology, by the way, ValidSoft, for a small little software company, Europe has by far the most stringent laws, and when it comes to data privacy, data integrity, and privacy laws. And we have received from the European community 3 Europrize privacy awards for our technology. So we have each one took. The first one took a year and a half, then a year, then a year. There isn't a security company in the world, and you could pick any large one that's got one. So what we do is we make sure that we use the most state-of-the-art technology, but we don't invade your privacy. We don't need to know where you are. We don't need to track you by phone. We want to be able to let you know that your data is protected. We don't keep it. We don't see it. That we've developed technology that allows us to bring out in real time solutions that make sure that you're the person that can make that transaction and you're actually the right person on the phone. We can go as far as that. And we can go as little as two-factor. You know, they might say, hey, it's a $150 transaction. I'm happy with two-factor. Then that profile for that person is two-factor. They might say, hey, they're buying $12,000 bracelet in Las Vegas. So basically the history doesn't show that. I would like to incorporate the ValidSoft technology in real time, and in 400ths of a second, we're going to give them some data. And now they'll make the decision. We don't. We just give them the data real quickly. And that's the key right now to ValidSoft, and I believe you're going to hear a lot of very exciting news on ValidSoft going forward. On Elephant Talk, we have just announced a brand new deal in Mexico with a mobile operator called Usacell, a brand new deal in Saudi Arabia with Zain and an MVNO called Axiom, and we just put up another MVNO, our 6th in Spain, called Neostar. And why this is important is that now we have 3 working platforms on 3 continents around the world, and we've announced publicly that the one in Mexico, the CEO announced in Mexico, that they will migrate a minimum of 1.5 million customers or SINs, subscribers, to our platform by the end of this year. Just to give you an idea of a sense of numbers, that will double the number of subscribers that we have at this point.
So, Steve, what is the size of the market, and what is the market cap of Elephant Talk?
Elephant Talk's market cap is approximately $100 million.
Okay. And the size of this market that we're talking about?
I can't. There's no way to get. Best I could do for you is tell you there are 850 mobile operators with several billion subscribers that all have the same problem.
Right.
So there's no way to give you a dollar amount other than it's exorbitant.
Right.
So if we tell publicly that our goal is to average approximately $1 per SIM per month, the model for Elephant Talk is fabulous because it's monthly recurring revenue. So every contract on top of the other contract just builds upon itself. So
yes.
Obviously it scales, so if you get a deal worth 10 million subscribers, the more they put in our platform, the less they'll pay monthly per subscriber. Right now we have one. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's a very interesting story, and the stock acts, pretty well in here. It's gone through a consolidation since your deal a couple of months ago, and it looks great. So thank you for the info, And as I said, I own the stock, although we don't get paid by Elephant Talk. And we'll try and have you back and keep everybody informed.
Yeah, Steve, this
Anytime.
is a great story.
Pleasure talking to you.
Great story.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
Bye-bye.
Oh.
And I think we may have John Munn on the phone with
I
us,
think
too.
so. Yeah, John has
Yes.
just joined us on the Newsmaker line. Welcome back.
Yes, it's a pleasure being back, especially being on the show last week. I think we discussed some very exciting things for MediFocus, and
Right.
You wanted me to come back to so we could talk a little bit more in detail
Right.
about MediFocus.
Well, we actually didn't. I didn't think that we had really enough time to get the whole story out. But besides that, you also had an announcement coming that we couldn't discuss, and so I think you can start there.
Oh, absolutely. It's no doubt that we're very happy with where we are as far as MediFocus is. One of the major values behind MediFocus really is our extensive intellectual properties portfolio, to which covers both our ProLeaf technology and our breast cancer technology. And together, we already have over 100 issued patents in the U.S. and abroad. But recently, we just announced, and this is what we couldn't state last time I talked because we didn't have the press release out yet until after we did, but we were issued a brand new U.S. patent which really covers the use of focus heat to control the release of drugs and genes, which, as you know, for genes and thermosensitive type of activated drugs, those are what I call drugs of the future or medicine of the future.
Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating when you're talking about actually both treatments. But tell us a little bit more about the actual news release that you had on that.
Okay, well, really what it is, as you know, the ProLeaf, we have about 50 patents already covering that. That's the patent coverage to allow us protection in the way we deliver heat by way of natural body orifices, which is endothermal therapy. The other platform technology is our adaptive phase array, which is really the basis of our breast cancer that allows us to focus microwaves from outside the body to anywhere within. Now, this third and new platform potential of this new patent, as I mentioned, is the way an apparatus is used to precondition and fixate a treatment zone so that one can activate thermoactive drugs and gene products or viral vectors. The key here is, I assume maybe some people are very familiar with the use of radiofrequency ablation. That is, they place probes within a defined area to ablate. Those are like RFA for liver cancer, some of the other bone diseases, cancer, things like that. But we believe there were shortcomings on how to define a heating zone for RFA, how to monitor the temperature of the RFA. So we had a very unique patent to improve upon the use of RFA, which, I don't know the exact number, but it's in the thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of treatments performed annually for this. And what this does is we define a particular heating zone within the liver, and then when they use it with thermosensitive drugs to release or gene products that are gene activated by heat, or even viral vectors that you can turn on and off a gene therapy with heat, this really opens up a brand new avenue and platform for future technologies and future use of medicine for a defined area with all the new products in gene therapy, gene activation, the ability to turn on and off the gene, because as you know, for gene therapy, the biggest concern is how much of the gene is exposed to the entire body. If we can define the gene activity to where you need it, which is really the treatment zone for the cancer, and the ability to turn on and off the gene to work by heat, it's a very innovative technology. So that opens the door for future use of heat along with the future products of medicine.
Wow, that's amazing. There has been so many advances, I guess you could say, in cancer treatments, going back to the cyberknife, which was huge a few years ago. And now all of a sudden, MediFocus has got some unbelievable ideas. Now, you mentioned a lot of patents, several patents. Are those worldwide patents? Are they just U.S.?
Yeah, they actually is both.
Okay.
For like I mentioned, for the APA, or adaptive phase array technology that really started with the Star Wars technology, the ability to focus microwaves and destroy enemy missiles, we use that same type of focusing technology to focus in externally outside the body to a site within the body, meaning the disease site or the cancer site. We have about 50 issued patents on that, to which there's about 6 U.S. patents issued in that area, and about 40-some internationally. That also give us ability to develop additional treatment systems, not only for the breast, but for other areas such as liver, lung, head and neck, many other areas. The other one that you asked about, again, is the endothermal therapy, the ability to deliver heat by way of natural body orifices such as esophageal, rectal, ovarian, prostate. Again, we have about 50 patents already issued, and that is based on our ProLeaf technology, but that gives us ability to develop future systems for other forms. So the combination of both the APA and the endothermal therapy, that gives us the ability to develop future heating system to treat almost any site within the body, not just confined to breast or prostate.
Well, that's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Charles, Casey, any questions for John?
Not really any questions. Can you discuss a little about the importance of this in treating stuff that, so I'm just assuming, because I take chemotherapy for bladder cancer, but I'm assuming that delivery of drugs to the specific areas dramatically cuts down on all of the side effects of some of these drugs. And some of these drugs have pretty extreme side effects.
Right. It's no doubt that for chemotherapy, and most chemotherapy, not all, when you give chemotherapy, it basically is non-selective. It goes throughout the body, and it kills everything. Although it kills the cancer, but it also destroys many other organs. That's the downfall of chemotherapy, and many of the very aggressive cancers require really toxic high dose, which that's why many, many people who take these drugs get tremendous adverse events, and it makes their quality of life, even after treatment, to be very, very I guess, very, very bad. That's why many times, many cancer patients, depending on how severe they already are, they realize that they really can't take the drug because their quality of life is dramatically impacted upon. Now, the key for successful cancer treatment is targeted drug therapy. In other words, get the drugs, get the genes, get whatever treatment compound you have, and let it be activated only where it's needed. And actually, you don't want it to go on forever. So you know, for the case of gene, you have these switches that are activated by heat, which you can turn on the gene to kill, or make it work better with certain chemotherapy. And then when the chemotherapy is out of your body or the disease is finished, you turn it off by turning off the heat.
Right.
So therefore, just imagine if you had, say, liver cancer, you don't want to destroy everything else. You just want it to be treated in the liver. So therefore, you minimize a lot of the treatment and adverse events, and you feel hopefully your quality of life is dramatically better because you're only treating the site that really where the treatment is required.
John, could the microwave eventually replace chemo?
Well, you know, right now we are using it in combination to make the chemo work better.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, for certain drugs, you know, it's dramatic, especially like doxorubicin. For every degree, just think about chemistry and Bunsen burners. Many times when you are working in the lab and going through school, they heat up the they heat up the drug because they know it's much more active. But the amount of effect of cell death for certain drugs goes up exponentially for every degree that it goes up. So your body temperature, normal body temperature, is about 38, and we're only talking about going up to, say, 42, 43 degrees. And at that temperature, it's very tolerable, very safe, but it makes the chemotherapy dramatically increase its cytotoxic effect to actually kill the cancer. So it just makes the drug work better. Now, of course, heat alone is another potential use because it's no doubt that cancer cells cannot survive. They are very susceptible to heat damage. So, yes, you potentially could use heat alone, and basically without particular technologies of the focus microwaves and the focus endothermal therapy, and now the new patent that we have for improvement for RFA treatment, yes, we can design better tools that potentially in certain type of diseases to use heat alone. And in fact, for the ProLeave, which I would love to talk about a little bit about the progress about our ProLeave and commercialization and revenue generating for the ProLeave, that is a heat alone technology.
Go ahead. Yeah, John, explain that.
Okay. Basically, as you know, ProLeave is for the treatment of BPH, which is benign prostatic hyperplasia. That's the enlargement of the male's prostate gland. And no doubt if you are a male over the age of 50, over 50% of all men will start getting enlarged prostates to the point where I believe when you get to the age of 70, over 80% of all men have enlarged prostates, and a significant number of these men, because of the enlarged prostate, it squeezes the urinary tract, so it's very difficult to urinate. And you can imagine some men have to wake up in the middle of the night 3-4 times because they always feel an urgency to urinate, but they can't because the enlarged prostate squeezes on the urethra. So these men do not get a very good solid sleep. But the general treatment is drugs, and you have to take these drugs every day for the rest of your life. And many of the drugs do not work that well, or it may have long-term or short-term adverse events. So many people have given the option. They do not want to take a drug every single day for the rest of your life. Now, the ProLeave is so unique that it's an outpatient 45-minute treatment, and 90% of the time, directly after treatment, they immediately can urinate better than they've ever done in a long time. The results are very immediate. It's an outpatient treatment, so there's many men out there which no doubt we think is a great alternative to drug therapy. And as you know, that's a huge marketplace because there's so many men with BPH treatment. There's probably $2 billion marketplace for the drugs. There's another $2 billion potential market for many men on watchful waiting who don't want to take drugs but want and looking for a treatment that is outpatient treatment, 45-minute treatment. And, the other thing is I've known many men who love to play golf, but they can't even go through one round of golf without stopping to go to the restroom. It just affects quality of life. And just think about many men who finally, after treatment, can have a one-night rest of sleep that they feel very well the next day and can have a better quality of life.
Boy, interesting stuff. Charles, Casey, any questions?
I don't have anything.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, let me talk, if I can, about why we're so excited about MediFocus.
Yes.
Go ahead.
If I can. Mainly, it's a game changer for MediFocus that we had acquired the ProLeave. We got into this a little bit in a very short time last week when we discussed it. Of course, we're so excited about the value of the potential of the breast cancer that is currently been approved by the FDA and Health Canada for our pivotal phase 3 clinical study. Of course, you know the dramatic and large market potential for the treatment of breast cancer. But we have immediate revenue. We purchased the ProLeave from Boston Scientific last year. Since that time, we have already expended all the capital that was required to do the transfer of technology, bring the technology from Boston Scientific, get the manufacturing of the kits all done. So the heavy lifting and expenses required to take on a brand new product by MediFocus has already been expended. Now, every dollar we spend in increasing sales force and marketing, we're going to see a dramatic increase to our bottom line. So what I wanted to say was, from virtually zero revenue when we took over, the first quarter, even with very minimal staff, we were able to generate over $300,000 of revenue. That's pretty dramatic when we only had 2 sales people running the show. Since then, of course, we've been hiring more and more people. But the second full quarter after the first, we more than doubled the sales to over $600,000. And the last reported quarter in our financials that we had last week, we had over $800,000. And we fully expect, and that's why we're so excited, is that we fully expect significant revenue increase quarter over quarter over quarter. So this is a major game changer for MediFocus, that we're not a traditional R&D company. with good technology going through phase 1, phase 2, and development, we're actually not only have all the exciting technologies in the clinical studies for breast cancer and potentially other diseases, but we're actually making money, generating revenue. And I know the next question you're going to ask is, when do you think you're going to be cash flow positive? Based upon our projections, we will meet that major milestone of cash flow positive, hopefully early part of next year.
Well, that sounds great.
That's great.
Charles, I knew you were going to ask that question too, by the way. And John knew that too. So.
Yeah. I think that's a very significant thing because the company, I must say, it's not followed much on the street. We are traded in Toronto under the symbol MFS in the Toronto Venture, and we're also traded in the U.S. under the symbol, which is the OTCQX, which is MDFZF. We have not received a lot of coverage, even though we have terrific technologies and now quarterly revenue. So I think even since talking to you guys last week, we started seeing an uptick in the amount of volume and people looking at our company. We're just getting the word out, and I think that in general, performance is the key. Quarterly over quarterly increase in revenue. I think people will be able to look at us and say, hey, this company is growing, and, we don't need hype. We don't need anything to tell a story. We actually are going to be a company that shows increase in revenue. We're going to be a company that shows progress in our phase 3 clinical study. We virtually have zero debt. So, we have a team of managers here that is very significant. We've been through running public companies. We have terrific investors that's backing us up, especially as you see, we had very significant investors because of the potential ProLeave. They just put the money in right away because they believe in the ProLeave. They believe in our APA breast cancer. So we have investors that are supporting us. We're now trying to get more and more exposure to get the story out about MediFocus in the U.S. market, because the capital markets in the U.S. are more prime to look at companies like us in the medical arena for breast cancer and male prostate diseases, much more so than in Canada.
Yep, sounds great, John, and we'll definitely...
It does sound great. And also 17B, we don't get paid by MediFocus, but I do own some stock bought in the open market. And I just want to remind people that what I've been trading on with biotech and drug companies for the last year remains in effect here. These are the kind of companies that disappear.
Yep.
They disappear because some of the bigger companies don't want to spend the R&D, but when the cycle is complete and there's a product coming to market, a lot of the bigger companies just gobble these little guys up.
Yeah, wow. Wow.
Usually pretty profitable for the shareholders, and that just is the way that some of these companies build pipelines.
Yep.
They watch and they wait, sort of like the prostate thing. And these things happen overnight. So thank you, John. It was great having you on again.
And
I
Charles,
think everybody has a little better idea.
Yep, Charles and Casey, thank you very much. And John, we'll have you back real soon. Great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great news.
And Yeah, I look forward to it. I think we will have great news coming forward, and be happy to talk to you and your listeners.
All right.
Great. Thanks again, John.
John,
Okay,
thank you. And Charles, Casey, we'll talk to you next week, okay, guys? You've been listening to Money Info, brought to you by Princeton Research. Mike King is in Singapore, so Casey Quintana over in Tampa Bay, Charles Moskowitz in Boston. You folks have a good day. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, CBS News in progress.